Should we start?
I don't know, is Councillor Lee joining
No,
us?
he's, apologies, he's going to a meeting elsewhere.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'll start on the basis I was the last chair. So, good evening, Sandwich Tollbridge Fund Finance Committee meeting. The first agenda item is to elect a chair. I would like to propose Councillor Ian Black. Would somebody be happy to second that proposal? And take it to a vote.
Vote for myself.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that's unanimous.
Okay. Over to you, Ian.
Thank you. Right. First of all then, any apologies for absence? Have we received any apologies for absence?
Councillor Dean Marie, personal commitment.
Yes, thank you. Item 3, are there any declarations of interest? Declaration of disclosable pecuniary interest from members in respect of business to be transacted on the agenda? No? Okay. Item 4 then, the minutes of the Finance Committee. This was the minutes of the committee held on the 28th of May, and any items matters arising from those minutes not covered elsewhere in this agenda. Are there any questions, points that people want to raise first? Right, can I get proposal, please?
Propose the minutes.
Seconder? Right. I'm abstaining because I wasn't present.
Just one abstention.
Oh, I'm abstaining
Oh, you're
due
abstaining.
to absence.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Daniel Carter, are you
Oh,
voting?
got no abstention.
Oh, thank you. 2 abstentions.
Thank you. Item 5, public participation. A 20-minute session set aside for members of the public to make representation at the meeting in respect of business on the agenda.
Yes, Christina Glick, please.
Thank you. May I remind you, it shouldn't exceed 5 minutes.
Fine, thank you. Good evening. I don't have written notes as such. I'm speaking direct to the agenda, and again, this time it's item number 6, which is the payment schedules. And again, we are missing the financial reports, which are the bank recs for the 3 entities, the cash book for the STBF, and the budget variances for the STBF, the Guildhall and the museum. Now, we were missing these last month as well, and I don't know what the thinking is as to regard to catching up. I have actually looked back over 6 months, and when we have the quarterly STBF meeting, that isn't picking up all the reports. So if the committee is relying on the full trustee meeting to pick up the missing reports, that hasn't been happening. Now, and I could say that actually maybe that doesn't matter too much with the budget variances and with the cash book, because those are year-to-date reports. So if you miss it 1 month, then actually the following month they're at high level, so they're summary reports, high level, and they're year-to-date. So actually you still, at the following month, you still get a picture, and it incorporates what was missed from the previous month. But that's not true of the bank recs. The bank recs are only 1 month at a time. So if you've missed it, you've completely missed it. Now, the bank recs provide a higher level of granularity, and in actual fact, that information is really useful. I find it useful anyway. It is certainly very informative because it's at transaction level, whereas the other reports are at summary level by expense line or income line or whatever. So I do feel that these reports being missing is actually quite a big issue, and it's happened 2 months running now. And the last STBF full trustee meeting did not pick up on the missed reports that should have actually been presented to that meeting as well. It didn't pick up on it. So yeah, I mean, sort of, it is a case of these reports, or reviewing the reports, are important internal controls, and I'm concerned that with the STBF meetings happening quarterly and the Finance Committee being responsible for the detailed reviews on a monthly basis, if you're not provided with the information, then you're not able to do it. And if you're hoping that you're going to somehow catch up, the way the reports are being presented over the last 6 months, I've gone back to December, that doesn't actually facilitate that. So I wanted you to know that, because I just sort of, I find those reports useful, and others might too, and without actually going back and doing the work of tracking which report was presented when, unless you do that, you're not going to know that you're missing these things. And I have done that going back to December, but there you go, and that's why I wanted to share that with you this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Quinn. What the situation is.
So, yeah, so basically we've got the interim RFO now, but the system, so we had to concentrate on STC because clearly we do have the deadline for doing year end and getting to do the governance with the annual governance annual return that will be coming to members on Monday. So that's why Karen had to focus on the town council accounts first. The Tollbridge Fund accounts, there is a longer deadline leading to the year end because of it's a charity, so it's a different timetable. And basically, the system that Karen had been using last year, she hasn't yet, or she hadn't before she managed to actually do the year end situation. So the interim RFO is working with Advantage to get to grips with rolling over year end and making sure we can progress. But it is obviously he's new to the system as well, so I'm working with him on making sure, and we do need to get the bottleneck of the reports sorted out. So I am aware of the situation.
Okay, thank you.
Am I not right in thinking that because of the overlap between Sandwich Town Council and the Tollbridge Fund, things like the Guildhall payment schedule and the Guildhall bank account go to both the council and the trustee? So we have been seeing, because remember at the last council meeting there was a massive amount of schedules that needed to be kind of cleared. So I feel that there's some overlap that will alleviate in part this situation that the public participants have got.
Yeah, I'm happy to sit down with you to an RFO and go over the issues that have been raised tonight and feedback to members with an update.
Okay. Without wishing to engage in debate, this is not your perception, Ms. Quinn.
That's correct. The Guildhall Bank Rec does not go to the Town Council. It only goes to the STBF. The Town Council has its own set of documents and the STBF has its own set of documents. They're separate.
Yeah.
Okay.
You might be confusing with the trustee meeting.
Okay. So the situation is, we know that the difficulty, we've had to concentrate on the year end and the overlap period that aggravated the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Is it likely that the next meeting we will be at least 80% of the way there?
That's what I'm working on.
Okay, ideally be 100, but let's be realistic.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I hope that answers your question. Is there just one request to speak?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Oh, my screen's gone black, hang on. Oh no, I've got to log in again.
What's that papers?
Well,
What's that papers?
what's paper?
Back in.
Okay then, item 6, payment schedules. To approve the Sandwich Tollbridge Fund Guildhall payment schedules for mid-June 2025, that's 2A and 2B. Any questions, any points, any items that anyone wishes to raise? Right, could I have a proposer, and I will take two of them together. Proposer and a seconder. Okay, all in favour?
Yeah.
Thank you. The next item is to receive 5D, the Quilter Cheviot report for May 2025. are there any questions or comments about this report that we're not going to cover in item 7 with performance of the quota investment fund? If there are no questions, could I have a proposer please to accept 5D? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Cartwright. Councillor Mayor, okay. The vote please.
Sorry, who seconded that one?
I was happy to.
Thank you.
The next item, this I'm assuming is intended to be an open discussion to discuss the performance of the quota investment fund. Who would like to start this off?
I don't know whether the town clerk could give an update in terms of one of the things that we agreed to do was to speak to the auditor, so.
Yes, so they did come up with the auditor when he was here. I did speak to him about the situation that you have here, and he did mention a company called Flagstone. So I have reached out to them with an inquiry about whether or not, because they actually not only deal with investments, they deal with the issue of having accounts, multiple accounts as well. So you have one account, but they do have different bank accounts that can go from that one account. So it means that you can have the money protected with the FCS system in multiple accounts.
And that's a recommendation of the auditor anyway.
That was a recommendation from our internal auditor, from Margaret's.
So this is a fund manager, is it this?
So it's a bigger, sort of broader brush than that. It's something to do with investments, but also to do with multiple bank accounts, so that you have the money protected. But you only have one account with the company called Flagstone. But I've asked them for information, and if they can share details that I can then share with members and explain that we're a local council, and he knows of large local councils that use this.
Use this company?
Yes.
As an investor? Yeah.
Yes.
As the investment manager?
Yes. And that was his recommendation, to reach out to them and seek some details that I can share with members.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions about this?
Well, I think at the last meeting, Councillor Lucasson raised the Charities Aid Foundation, and I think it would be worth approaching them to see what their view is. I think they operate funds, but I think they do give independent advice. I also think that once the Maddox Fund is up and running and the charity is up and running, that we could consider hiring a investment manager or a financial planner, for want of a better description, to review. That would come with a fee, but that's another alternative. But that financial planner could be procured jointly between the two funds, and see what their recommendations are. There's absolutely no reason why we couldn't get some proposals from companies and bring those forward to, or financial planners and bring those forward, and the Charities Aid Foundation.
Okay, Councillor Pennington, and then yourself, Councillor Anderson.
Yes, thank you. Just to say, I have been in touch with a company that could help us, called Thornton and Baines. I haven't yet had the chance to have a detailed discussion with them, but it may be that they could join in this exercise.
Thank you. Councillor Anderson.
I just want to be clear what the intended outcome of these discussions is, because personally I feel there are two intended outcomes. One is that we raise the level of return, because I think we all accept that the built achieve it return is relatively weak, surprisingly, and that that against their own benchmarking. But the second outcome that I would like, but others may disagree, is that we look at what we're invested in, with a view to being selective on ethical grounds. And that's one of the reasons why I support looking to the Charities Aid Foundation because they do have an ethical policy. But you know, there will be other opinions. But those are the two outcomes that I would like to see.
In my experience as a pension fund trustee, when a variety of suppliers came to see us, we could specify how much whether they want to be more ethically inclined or whatever. So I think it's a very important question, and I think we should ask any future organisation to say, well, what would you do, what areas, and then we need a realistic discussion as to what the return is.
Yeah.
Because it's difficult to balance, isn't it? We want a
Absolutely.
maximum return,
Absolutely.
but we don't necessarily want it invested in lithium or something like that. Okay, Councillor Wells.
I think it's not just about ethical investment as well, but as I understand it at the moment, we put all our eggs in one basket and say everything's in medium risk or low risk. I think what we should do is have a spread to say we have some in medium risk, some in low risk, and a tiny amount in high risk, because it's the high risk that might yield the greatest. You know, we've missed the bus on so many very, very profitable investments.
Yes.
Think about Tesla or AI or Apple, all these shares which, you know, if you'd invested in 10 years ago, you'd be managing a fund of £10 million by now, potentially.
Well, yes.
So we need advice on that kind of strategy.
Again, I think it's a similar answer to Councillor Anguson's question, is that these are things that you would present to any potential bidder to say, these are the parameters, please come back and tell us how well you could manage that, and what, in your best estimation, is these are the likely returns. And yes, you probably do need to spread of risk. Then you have to debate as to whether it's 10% is high risk, or 20%, or whatever. And then unfortunately you look at some of the larger councils that went really high risk with some investments and are now going broke.
Yeah.
It's a very difficult balance.
You don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah, Peter.
A couple of things in response to Councillor Anguson. I think when we looked at both the Maddocks and when we previously looked at Quilter Cheviot, we did get some insight into the companies and the nature of the companies that they were investing in. Now, unfortunately or fortunately, we made a decision to move it into a self-managed fund by Quilter Cheviot, and we're a little somewhat blind on the companies that they've put in. But I would say that in the lab they're predicting something in the order of £60,000 a year, or in terms of dividend payment. And in the first month of this year, in the month
This is
of
from
May,
the Tollbridge.
this is from the Tollbridge Fund. My computer is jammed, so I just can't scroll the screen. But in the first month, the dividend payments is just shy of £20,000. So that's £20,000 in 1 month. And I know it's May, it's the end of the financial year and stuff like that. So, you know, there is some glimmer of hope there. But what I would say is that what I feel we need a common document to go out to the likes of Flagstone or Thornton and Baines or the Charities Aid Foundation, which sets out who we are and what we're looking for and what we would want them to be able to demonstrate to us. And it's only a one-page document, and ask them to submit proposals within a number of weeks, within 3 weeks or something like that. That's what I would suggest the way to go forward. And whether we're able to combine the Tollbridge Fund and the Maddocks Fund with kind of the one investment manager or the one financial planner, or whether we put two of them in competition, is a decision down the turnpike. But we've kicked this around a couple of times, and I really feel we need to get something that, you know, a scope, and get it issued and get some firm proposals in.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Green. Could I just ask a question before? I thought we said a few months ago, we would give Quilter Cheviot a 6-month period.
Yep.
When does that expire?
I think it's July, August time.
So we're almost at the end of this period, and then we should have a review about their performance. Okay, sorry.
Another factor that we probably need to take into account is whether Quilter Cheviot will charge us for exiting from them.
So charges for?
Exiting. You know, because there can be big penalties, and when they tried to charge us for moving to their charity fund, that was an indication, which was a mistake, and they admitted it, but that was an indication that they probably would charge us for exiting.
They returned the fee on that.
They did, but
Because they said that it was kind of included in their overall management fees, and what we don't have sight of at the moment is whether their management fees are included within this fund that they're operating. So there might be exit fees or there might not be exit fees. We should clarify that at the end of the 6-month period.
Yeah, I think we should, but if the question was asked when we were discussing this fund, and the answer was that there aren't any exit fees. However,
they might charge.
we need to double check that.
Could I then make the proposal that we, for the next meeting, we come back with a report which first of all establishes how well Quilter Cheviot have actually performed in the 6-month period, because we said we would do that. Secondly, to ascertain what fees, if any, there would be to move away from Quilter Cheviot. And thirdly, to perhaps prepare a document which I think allows for a couple of people to have specific input to, as to what we think our investment objectives should be, and that would include the nature of the investment, in other words, the kind of fields we want to invest in, but also what we want as a return, and perhaps greater discussion of what risk we will be prepared to accept, and perhaps in various proportions. Now, I don't think I'm qualified to do that myself. I would be looking for perhaps 2 or 3 people to work with me on it and prepare a report.
I'm quite happy to support.
Councillor Breen, Councillor Anderson, would you like to?
Yes, okay, yes, all right.
Okay, and is there one other person that who's got experience of dealing with these? Because my pensions trustee experience is getting a little bit rusty. Could I have one more volunteer? Councillor Pennington, thank you very much. Jill, we answered all the points, and have we got some clarity as to how we're going to take that forward?
Yes, I've got that all in the minutes.
Okay. If I propose that, can I get a seconder for that, please?
Yeah.
All of those in favour, please?
Aye.
Okay.
So was that Councillor Breen that seconded? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Right, we now move to item 8, which confidential matters to resolve under the Public Bodies Admissions to Meetings Act 1960 and in accordance with Standing Order 3E to exclude the press and public on the grounds that publicity would be prejudicial to the public interest by reason of the confidential nature of the business to be transacted. And it's specifically about information relating to a particular leaseholder and commercially sensitive details. Do I have a proposal for that, please? Second, please. Councillor Anderson. Could I have a vote on that, please? Thanks. Unanimously. Okay. Thank you very much indeed, Christina, for that. And we'll give you a few minutes to clear your equipment up, and of course